This is the Education Business Podcast for consultants and business owners providing services in schools. I'm Claire Riley, and I'll be sharing how to start, grow and scale your education business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Education Business Podcast. Today I have a guest, Laura Summers. Laura is the founder of Book Machine, which is a marketing agency that specialises in education businesses. So I thought you would be really interested to hear Laura's lessons of founding a business in the education sector. Laura, welcome to the Education Business Podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell us how you got into business. Tell us the story. We love a good story on the Education Business Podcast.
So the story from the beginning, it seems like a very long time ago. So I actually, after I finished university, I taught English in France in a classroom. So I was like a classroom assistant. And then I took the sort of teaching English as a foreign language qualifications and spent 3 years teaching children, teenagers and adults how to speak English living in Spain, which was brilliant. And then I decided to move back to the UK. And at that point, I went to work at a large education publisher called Pearson Education, which I'm sure most people have heard of. And my role was to edit educational resources. And editing, just to sort of give you the scope of what that includes. So at the time, there were students' books, teachers' books, workbooks, audio resources. It was back in the day of CD-ROMs. So it was going through all of those resources, making sure everything was consistent across the courses. And it was quite fun doing things like audio recordings and listening to the authors coming in, as well as sort of looking at the text and how it all matched up and sort of thinking how things would work in the classroom. Loved that job. But I felt I was more suited to sales and marketing in terms of my interest. So I took my marketing qualifications and started to work in a marketing role, a few various roles, but latterly for a tech company. And for those of you that remember, there used to be a feature on your Apple, on your iPad, which was called iBooks Author. iBooks, sorry, it might still exist. But Apple basically built this software called iBooks Author, which enabled you to create educational resources really easily. I say really easily, I didn't actually do it myself, but the team were able to build things a lot more easily than custom coding. And we built a lot of educational books in iBooks Author as part of my role at UD Media for publishers. So that was my background. So not classroom teaching, as in, yes, in the classroom, but not sort of UK classroom teaching. But I had been teaching overseas. I'd been working with educational resources. I was working in marketing. And it was quite a natural step from there to start working with clients. So when I was pregnant with my first child, and we'd already built up a bit of a brand. So in our spare time, we had this sort of community of people who would come together. And this was across both education publishing, but also trade, sort of regular books. And after having my first child, it just was like quite a natural step, really. And it worked. I was busy. There was lots going on. And then over time, it made sense to sort of hire a team and scale. So whether this was the plan from the outset, which is what people are quite interested in, I think yes and no, as in there was a vision, both myself and my now co-founder, Gavin, and husband, we had a vision, but also we've never had investment or anything like that. So we're very much a services business. It sort of relies on the success of the business in order to scale the business. So yes, we had a plan, but until it started happening, it wasn't really happening until we became more successful and then we were able to grow the business.
I think that's so normal though. You can have this idea that it's probably going to be bigger than yourself, but maybe you don't want to admit that at that point. and then it starts getting bigger, and you do it as a way of coping in some ways because of the work coming in or the demands that are put on you. And it's interesting that you talk about the fact that you started it when you had a child on the way. I talk to so many people. I mean, it's probably not just in the education space either, but it's always a factor. They're either going to grow the business more because they're having a baby, or they're going to start a business because they're going to have a baby, because they just can't see how being employed in a particular role and having a family is going to work and give them the freedom that they want. And I think that's just such an interesting thing. Obviously, we've had conversations before. We're both founders with our husbands, which I think is really, really fun. How do you find that?
For us, it works really well. We do quite different things within the business. So I'm very much speaking with our clients on the sort of front end of things, speaking on podcasts, on stage. I'll be going to events, invited to lots of things. And Gavin's very much operational. So working with the team, looking at what's coming in and sort of managing our sort of work processes. So we do quite different things within the business. So I think when I tell my friends and sort of people socially that I work with my husband, everyone sort of thinks we sit all day next to each other doing that. It's not really like that. We probably have 1 or 2 meetings a week. So for us, it works really, really well.
Yeah, yeah. Same, probably. I think I probably do very similar to you, and Ed will probably do very similar to Gavin. So you mentioned that at some point it made sense to bring on a team. How did that feel like? What was going on in the business at the time where you thought, "Oh gosh, we need to hire this team"?
So it's a combination of 2 things, really, 3 things. One, demand. There was enough work for more than myself. 2, skills. So our first hire, like our first employee, I hope she'll be listening to this, is an absolute brilliant designer, Amy. And at the time, it was just me on the business, and I don't have design skills, and we're growing a marketing agency. We need design skills. So it was a very natural step. And then it was the right person at the right time as well. So Amy was already doing some freelance work with us. I knew that we worked really well together, and it didn't feel risky. I mean, it was in the month before COVID, so it actually was quite risky, but we didn't know that was all going to happen. So it was, yeah, a combination of right person, right time, right market. So
Yeah. How do you feel about all your eggs being in one basket in some ways? Because that was definitely a barrier for Ed. We definitely had the money in the company for him to step into the business. We had quite a lot of employees by that point. And when I say a lot, I mean 25. And still, he was like, but we'd be putting all of our eggs in one basket. I have this separate income. So how does Gavin navigate that?
yeah, so Gavin came in when I think there were about 5 or 6 of us at the time when Gavin came in, which was 2022. I actually don't see it like that, all eggs in one basket. I see it the opposite way because of the way our business operates. We have a lot of clients. At any one time, we're working with between 30 or 40 clients. So I see it as the opposite of having our eggs in one basket. I see like having, for Gavin, being in one place where you could lose your job at any point, and people do in many large businesses. I see that more as having all your eggs in one basket. And we, like, part of my role is to spread the balance of our work so that we don't have all our eggs in one basket. And I think if 80% of our business came from one client, I'd be concerned, but it doesn't. And we try and keep under 10% of each of our clients is less than 10% of our revenue. So it doesn't feel like that.
That's such an interesting thing because I never thought of it like that before. And obviously, we sell a tiny thing to tens of thousands of people. So we should have thought of it like that, but we didn't.
No,
But to be fair, yeah, to be fair, I am the one who is more risky, shall we say.
Mhm.
And Ed likes to keep it just safer. But I think he's got better at it over time. I think it's that safety thing, isn't it? He just wants that safety more than I do. But obviously he's got over it now, and I think we're okay. So tell me about how many team members you got now then.
So in total, there's about 15 people working on Book Machine. 10 are sort of employees, and we've got about 5 freelancers who work regularly with us. So we've got a really strong team, really proud of everyone. And we're remote first. So we are based all over the country, which has pros and cons. I think the advantages are that we can hire the very best people for the role. They don't have to be able to come into our office. The disadvantage is that you don't see everyone, so you don't get a sense of people's body language. And obviously, we see each other online, and it's great to see everyone. But sometimes I feel like I'd like to know how people are a bit better, and you can't really get that sense online. But it works. It works really well for us overall.
Yeah, oh, same, same. So we're fully remote as well. And we had an away day last week, and it was just so great. And one of the things I really try and champion on the away days is lunch times, just more times to be social because, I mean, you've got people coming up from London, and I know you're in London, but I'm not. I'm in Halifax, so it's a long way, really, and making the most of those opportunities. But I'm just intrigued because this is something that I struggled with myself, that a lot of people who are growing a business in the education business space struggle with as well. How did you transition well from being on your own to then being responsible for so many people?
It's a really good question, and I think I'm quite lucky in that I've got two. There's now 3 directors of the machine, so it's myself, Suzanne, and Gavin. So Suzanne is essentially manages the team, and she has a brilliant rapport with everyone and has sort of regular check-ins. And as I said, sort of Gavin manages workloads and ensures, because we do have certain times where we're super busy, and he sort of makes sure that everyone has like a manageable workload. And then I'm concentrating on the business development side of things, making sure that there's enough revenue for everyone. So I like, obviously the question is directed at me because I'm here on the podcast, but it's very much a joint effort. And I think between the three of us, we have all of those bases covered. So I don't feel like I'm thinking about managing a team who are brilliant, as I said, plus thinking about the revenue, plus thinking about everyone's workloads. I'm not thinking about all of it. I have that part of it. And we've hired as we've grown. As I mentioned before, we haven't taken investment, we haven't hired at points where we couldn't afford to. So I'm not saying that there aren't moments that, you know, there are pressure points in the year and ebbs and flows and things. But I feel like we've been quite sensible on that side of things. So.
Yeah, I think the nature of your business as well, isn't it, to hire more slowly? Whereas some of the businesses that are obviously listening are more like mine, where you kind of do the work up front and then you get the revenue in and then you might grow significantly. I mean, there was a time where I definitely hired 15 people at once and I probably had a team of 40 at the time. And that was intense, really intense. And at the time, we also didn't do fully remote working either. So they were coming into the office and then everyone else was working with that. So, but great experience though. Definitely learn what not to do by doing it.
Yeah, I think it's every business model is different, and I'm aware that in ed tech where you're building software, like you can't do that without investment. And as you said, where you've got a product and you need people to make something faster so that you can then create a business. I realize it's then the other way around, but with a services type business, we grow one, and you know, we do lose clients, and you know, there are ebbs and flows, but we don't there's no sort of push to grow faster than there is work. So
Yeah, yeah, I can see how helpful, really, in terms of the chaos that I think you can create around growing a business, especially as you
Yeah.
start to get success. Just helps you to keep a handle on it.
I can see how different types of businesses can't do what we do and needs investment and staff at different points in order to be successful. So
Yeah. I also think the point about having three directors doing three different things and taking responsibility for different things is a great tip. I think Ed and I are better at that now. So, yeah, that is a good tip to make sure that you all have clear objectives, but also that you know clearly what's not your thing.
I think we all have our strengths and we try to play to our strengths, but also we're fortunate that as three directors, that is the way that our skill sets break down, and it doesn't always work out like that. So
Exactly, exactly. I mean, right now I'm working with the team a lot, but I'm not managing them because I can do it, but it's not a good thing for me. I can probably do it really well, but it'll take up a lot of my time and I need to spend my time on other things. And I don't find it fun. I don't like making sure that people do the thing. I just want them to do the thing. Why do they not do the thing? Well, they do the thing, but when somebody doesn't, why do they not do it? I don't know.
yeah, big questions.
Exactly, exactly. So one of the things I think as I've stepped into business is you open yourselves up to, like, I don't know, 100% more life experiences just by having that team, by being responsible. Would you agree?
100%. I feel like on an individual level that I'm just so much more engaged in everything across the whole business. So when I look back at my career, so I started working at small language schools, but then working for very big companies, there's a lot of learning there, and I wouldn't do things any differently. I'm really glad for the experience that I've had, but there's very much a fixed role within that, and like as an editor or as a marketer, I wouldn't, in the size of companies that I was in, I wouldn't really get involved with other sides of the business. And running a small business, just I get involved in absolutely everything. And I find on a personal level that's like really rewarding. Like no 2 days are the same, no 2 weeks are the same. Things are thrown at us all the time. We can come up with an idea on a Monday and we can execute it by the following Friday. That's amazing. Whereas in a large organization, I remember coming up with ideas, getting really excited about it, trying to get sign off, then someone else trying to get sign off, then someone else trying to get sign off. And then 4 months later, you've got approval to do your thing. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to, kind of like lost my motivation now. So yeah, I love the pace of small business. And yes, we want to grow, but like I think we'll always be quite nimble and able to move quite quickly in a way that you can't do as part of a much larger machine.
Yeah, 100%. I think you can make the mistake as well and have some of those things in place in a small business. We definitely went through a period of time where there was too much of that in there, probably from more corporate colleagues. And even I felt like I can't get anything through and I'm bored now with my idea and it's my company. This is weird. Anyway, I fixed that bit. But one of the things I would love to ask you, so your children are 6 and 8, same as my children. How are you managing the school holidays?
Someone asked me this the other day, and I gave her a blow by blow detailed account of my children's activities for the whole summer. And I think she looks a bit fed up by the end. So I'll try and go big picture. In short, summer camps, tennis camp, gymnastics camps, and early starts. We are recording at 7 a.m., may it be known to anyone listening. So early starts, and I don't know, ask me at the end of the summer how we've got through.
How long do they have off?
I got 6 weeks.
And so when you're sending them to the camps, are they like full day camps or half day camps?
4 day camps. We are very lucky that there is a camp at their school, which is at the end of our street, and they're really happy to go back to school in their holidays. So I don't know how long that's going to last. Next year they might say, I don't want to go to school in my school holidays. But at the moment, they're happy to do it. So if they're happy, we're happy. Obviously, it's all quite costly. But, from our perspective, we're running a business and the show must go on, as they say.
Yeah, it is so interesting, isn't it? I've booked Hattie and May into one club, a science club. And actually, the founder of the company was a guest a couple of months ago by the time this goes out. So that's going to be exciting. But it's the only club I've booked. It's not like a 9 till 6 kind of club. But I'll have coffee somewhere and do some work on my laptop. But yeah, my mum, I'm using my mum a lot. Hopefully my mother-in-law, but I haven't asked her yet. And early mornings, I like to work 6 a.m. till 9 a.m., which is why we're recording at 7 a.m. right now.
Yeah, I like early mornings as well. And I think I was really pushed into it during COVID because we had school started at 9 o'clock. So I remember thinking, how much work can I get in before homeschooling and the kids got up, and I got into a routine of doing a really early morning slot. And it just works really well. It gets it out of the way. You can power through things without sort of emails and things sort of getting into your flow. And it works. But I realized that not everyone is a morning person. So yeah, it's just one of those things.
Did you know the research on that though? People say, oh, I'm a night owl, I'm not a morning person. But actually, the latest research on that is that we should all have the same circadian rhythm. It's a habit that we've got ourselves into. We should all be morning people, really, because it's about getting up with the sun. So Ed used to use that one with me. I'm not a morning person. And now I'm like, you can't use that anymore.
Way easier. So, getting up when it's actually light it's a game changer. So.
Yeah, and it's not just the lightness, I think, as well. It's how cold it is. I think if I get up early in the winter, if I can work without getting ready, then I would want to get really warm and then I'll be fine. Whereas in the summer, you kind of don't care as much.
Yeah, just put a dress on, it's bright. It's a different mentality.
Exactly. But I think it is interesting, and I do get asked this question a lot. How do you manage time over the school holidays? And I try and have my meetings really early as well. So I've got to have regular team meetings at the moment. So they are in for 8:30 till 9:15. And same as you, I feel like that means then I've done the main things. Yes, I can check in on Teams, but it's not essential. But if you think about it in the school day, I don't know how your days work, but we tend to only work during school hours. At the moment, it's been a bit more fraught. We've done some evenings, some early mornings. But actually, you probably only get 4 hours of work anyway. By the time you get home, and then you might get some breakfast, you might have some lunch within that as well. And so 6 till 9, it's only 1 hour less than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, our kids go to after school club as well. Everyone's going to think that I just farm my kids off to clubs all the time, but they love it, and I get to get things done. So yeah, so I feel like our team work 35-hour week. I definitely do more than a 35-hour week, and it's on a personal level. It's the way our lives are set up and where everything's situated, and because it's both of us running a business, we can make it work. And I do appreciate that everyone has different ideas of how much they want to be around and what feels right, what doesn't feel right, what their kids want to do, what needs their children have as well. Not every child can just go to after school club. They might need to come home for various reasons. So I think, yeah, it's just such a unique thing. It's so personal to each family and each child and each parent, and I think everyone sort of does the best with what they've got, basically.
Exactly. And I think you just do what's right for you and the family, really, at the end of the day, don't you? I mean, we're quite a long way from school as well. So we've got to factor that in. But yeah, and as they get older, our children are the same age. So when you were talking about COVID, I thought, oh, you must have found that really hard, like us, because we had a baby and child starting school. Yeah, I just think in comparison to that, I just think I can make it work.
Yeah, my eldest was in reception, so yeah, there was learning to be done. I mean, looking back, it was reception, but it's really important, those sort of foundations. And I remember really feeling the pressure of wanting to make sure that he got all those experiences that he would have had if he was at school. And we didn't have any sort of online learning. It was very much for us. I mean, we did online learning, but there wasn't like a teacher on screen or anything that they had in some schools. So it was very much us making sure that he was most of it was reading for reception, but
Yeah, and doing things. Yeah, for us it was nursery and then reception. And we did have a couple of lessons in the day and they were only short, but that was very stressful because it was like, right, well, we're going to have a 15-minute session at 1 o'clock. Right, okay, well, make sure you're not having a meeting then. Because when you've got a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, they cannot access that themselves. You've got to be around. You're basically being the teaching assistant, but you're also trying to do a meeting. And it was, I never want to repeat that ever again. And then you've got my youngest like running around the place, shoving my eldest out of the way. And it's so funny because when she actually went into the reception class, the reception teacher knew her because she taught her at 3 years old.
I do not want to go back to that place. That was tough, and I realized that lots of people had it tough, and it's not
not a good time. But anyway, things are better now, and the fact that the children are older really, really helps. Well, I think the fact that we've done it really early in the morning has been helpful because we've powered through as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And you do have a business, not necessarily in education, but you support a lot of education businesses. So tell us more about where we can find you.
So just to give a bit of background to where we are now. So we run marketing campaigns for education businesses. So we work with all the top education publishers in the UK. We work with some edtech businesses and also with some sort of suppliers to the classroom, both focusing on UK schools and internationally as well. So obviously UK market has its ups and downs in terms of school budgets, and we're able to support our clients, whether they're working in the UK on whatever marketing strategies, but also internationally. Our website is bookmachine.org, and we are on all social channels. So we are basically everywhere. And we are the main marketing partner for BESA, the British Educational Suppliers Association. So you will always find us at their events as well.
Oh, thank you so much for getting up early. But now I don't feel bad because you basically told me you do that anyway.
I'm here anyway, so anytime, 7 a.m.
It makes sense why you booked 7 a.m. because nobody else did, but I completely get it. But thank you and have a lovely day today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. To get more information to grow your business, sign up at educationbusinessclub.co.uk.